All right, we're back. We're going to kick things back off with the midpoint marvelous facts we teased before we took a brief break there to handle business. That's none of your business. And Carl is going to share his midpoint marvelous facts. What do you got for us this week, Carl?
All right, this week I have Wolverine's first appearance actually came in Incredible Hulk issue number 180 in 1974. Spider-Man, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, did his first debut in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in August of 1962. And the Guardians of the Galaxy, originally created in 1969, did not get their first series until 1990.
Oh, wow, that one's cool. I knew the Spider-Man one. I have like a True Believers copy of the Hulk issue you talked about.
Yeah, it's 180 and 181, I believe, right?
Yeah, well, because he shows up in that last panel of 180.
Yeah,
and then
really in 181.
The Guardians thing I knew nothing about though. That one was super cool. Trevor, what did you find out about Grandmaster from the Guardians book we just wrapped up that will help us understand what the fuck that dude's all about?
All right, so when it comes to the Grandmaster and the Collector, because I guess it depends on like reboots and different media, like cartoons, TV shows, different comics. You know, sometimes they are brothers, sometimes they are not. They both use the power primordial. Only Grandmaster's power set is immortality, master of all games, master strategist and tactician, energy control, size and matter manipulation, ability to will death and resurrection of another, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, so he can do whatever he wants almost.
Yeah, pretty much. It took him the Collector. The Collector has he has the power primordial to create virtually unlimited effects. He has limited shape-shifting, precognition, telepathy, effective immortality, and an armored suit.
Yeah, a little bit like a bigger, punkier, bullier version of Mixie that collects shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off into our next book here. This is going to be Spider-Man Deadpool number 17. And this is a weird series, which I'll briefly explain. I've done nothing but drink and party since Wednesday, so forgive me. Spider-Man Deadpool 17, written by Joe Kelly, artist Ed McGuinness, Mark Morales, and Walden Wong. Jason Keith and Matt Wacky are all the people contributing to this book. Ed McGuinness is the art. Morales and Wong are the inkers. Keith and Yaki are the colorists. So that's how that all breaks down.
I thought you said Wacky.
Yaki, yeah, no, it's Yaki. That's a big art team, but this is a book that does not suffer from art in any way, shape, or form. Well, what we're running into with this book is a little bit is this long-running story they've had going with a whole bunch of interruptions is just kind of stalling out here, and it really needs to end. And I think the series ends with this main story as well, so I think that's kind of why it's suddenly been dragged out, because they need to fill a last trade here. You know what I'm saying? Because the way they've been releasing it is the main story is collected in the trades, and then all the side books that have nothing to do with the main story have been collected in separate trades, which is cool if you're collecting it in a trade format. But when I picked up on the way they were kind of spitting that story out, I've only collected the issues that deal with the main story, and that is Spider-Man and Deadpool taking on this character called Itsy Bitsy, who is made from half Deadpool and half Spider-Man's blood and DNA. This was done by Weasel, who is a one-time associate of Deadpool, who was killed and brought back to life by Mephisto, who also has a problem with Spider-Man. So you kind of see how all this is intertwining, and theoretically is a super cool story, and was for about 12 issues. But we're running out of gas here as it winds down in 17 here. So what happens this issue is we get a lot of recap to start the book off. Spider-Man is really at wit's end because Itsy Bitsy is a ruthless son of a bitch, and she is killing like everybody she comes in contact with. So basically a lot of bad guys, but Spider-Man isn't one that deals well with death. So all this death he feels like is coming back on him and his conscience, and he's kind of like at wit's end and ready to actually kill Itsy Bitsy herself. Deadpool's trying to talk him off this path, and Deadpool's been unsuccessful because Spider-Man proved he was ready to take this leap and take this step last issue, as it concluded by killing Deadpool, cutting his head off, believe it or not. And Deadpool obviously regenerated his head, put it back on, and is going back after Spider-Man to, again, talk him out of killing Itsy Bitsy. So they're arguing on this rooftop. And their back and forth is wordy but clever. So it's kind of like, a pissed off older written Peter Parker going back and forth with a Deadpool that now has a conscience. He's all handsomed up because he's been making good decisions. His scars have healed. So they've kind of revealed that, Deadpool's always made bad choices, which is why he was scarred up. That's kind of a funny little wrinkle in canon there.
Yeah.
But so you're looking basically with the roles reversed here, with Spider-Man wanting to take that step and kill this bad guy, and Deadpool trying to talk him off the edge. You'd think it would basically be the other way around. But that's the way things have been playing out for 3 or 4 issues now. So what used to come off as unique and cool is now coming off as just old and tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something about it and make the next decision in the story, or don't, or not don't, but like move past this phase. You know what I'm saying? Or drop it. So out of nowhere, Itsy Bitsy comes approaching the two heroes, Spider-Man and Deadpool, and this causes a big fight up on the rooftop between Spider-Man and Itsy Bitsy. Spider-Man basically, to get Deadpool out of the scene, so he doesn't try to stop him from killing her, says he's placed like a little spider tracer that will go off. It's in the room of Deadpool's daughter, and it will release Deadpool's home information if Deadpool doesn't get there to stop it in less than an hour. So what Deadpool does is he takes a risk that Spider-Man would never risk his family, and he stays to help Spider-Man continue fighting Itsy Bitsy. He ends up getting out of Spider-Man that it was all just a ruse on Spider-Man's part to try to get Deadpool out of the scene, but Deadpool knew better, and says he knew Spider-Man would never risk his daughter, so that's why he ended up staying. They end up kind of getting the better of Itsy Bitsy finally. Towards the end of this issue, it's really just a giant fight after a giant recap in the beginning. And Spider-Man kind of really has her up against this like giant, I don't know, glowing generator that can kind of like take her apart and kill her. When Deadpool tells him one more time to like, don't do it or I'm going to have to stop you, basically. And Spider-Man challenges him and basically says, okay, then let's do this, and puts down Itsy Bitsy. And these two, as the issue ends, are about to go at each other, Spider-Man and Deadpool. So that's how things end here.
What's up with that suit? Is that
what,
like
Spider-Man suit?
Yeah, how come he's wearing that kind of?
He's wearing basically like a superior suit that Doc Ock left around. He's been switching through to these like different stealth suits and different more brutally equipped suits to deal with Itsy Bitsy, because she's been whooping their ass the last like 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah, I think
she's been revealed.
Spider legs and lasers, like
yeah, he's trying to up his weaponry to deal with her. He's really at his wit's end. He's really wants to kill her and be done with it, and Deadpool's really trying to talk him out of it. Again, what I'll say about the series is you can go on Comic Book Roundup, and any issue written by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness, like that is the series to follow. There's a whole bunch of issues just written by other random teams. You can skip those altogether and just follow this story, and you'll have a nice little book on your hands. but it's basically got a release schedule of like Dark Knight at this point. The Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness issues come out two at a time, so back-to-back months, and then go on a 3-month break. So it's something that if you're reading in trade, you'll probably enjoy a lot more. So I currently have this issue rated as a borrow. For me, you know, I feel like the story's stalled out a little bit, and despite the art being just gorgeous, visually fantastic, and paneling being creative, you know, this is how I would want any Marvel event drawn, or, you know, any big title drawn. After this story ends, you know, I'm going to be dropping this title. So I think there's 1 or 2 issues left in it, and that's it for me. So that's where I'm at with this book. It's an overall borrow, but I could see why it's a forget it altogether for anyone else. If you guys have any thoughts on it, I don't know if you got around to reading it. And I'm the big Spider-Man Deadpool fan. I don't know I don't know the sales on this bad boy or anything. So it's one of those niche Marvel books I'm a fan of. What'd you guys think if you read it?
See, I have it as like a cusp between a borrow and a forget it altogether. The art is what's keeping it in that borrowed category.
Right.
I could care less about what's going on in the story because it's like 17 issues in, and I've only read this one. Right. So it was a lot to try to catch up on. But this art is perfect. If this art was in Secret Empire would be like phenomenal.
I know,
or any other book, or Avengers.
Or an Avengers title, right? Like back when Hickman wrote it, I feel like he got more art like this.
Yeah, he did.
Than you do now, which is a lot of Marvel's books are just like really stylized art, and I wish they would do that for certain titles, like more like individual titles, but their big books leave that shit out of it. You know what I'm saying?
I was saying that exact thing earlier with Ryan and Alan. I was saying that, like, you know, I appreciate their like what they're trying to do with this indie style art, like, and those books would probably be more appreciated and looked at differently if the other side of the coin was better. You know what I mean? Like their superhero stuff, like keep those like in like Silver Surfer, Spider Woman, you know, those like those niche books, like keep those like that. But then in Avengers, don't put somebody like, you know, put Ed McGuinness on that, not like Mike Del Mundo. And like, you know, you got to have 2 different sides. Like give us our really, really good high action superhero stuff, and then we can appreciate the niche books a little more. You know, it's hard to appreciate when you're getting crappy, like, you know, stuff that's usually supposed to be good, you know, like you were saying, like there's no more Hickman anymore, you know. I mean, Wade's a little got a softer touch.
Right. I agree. I agree.
No stakes, and it's like very soft.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm telling, before that whole Avengers saga led into a giant event, you know, now they have kind of like, I'm not saying low sales books, but more niche books like Captain America and stuff, which are leading into events, which are obviously gonna either have a love-hate relationship with an audience that's not really reading a lot of that title to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So they're jumping in without a full story and just reacting to what they're being given, and it leads to these shit shows. Exactly right.
And they're going through that right now with Secret Empire, because you got a lot of people who hate the book because either they didn't read it and they just don't like Cap being a quote unquote Nazi, or they didn't follow the Cap story and they're confused about what's going on, so they hate it because of that. So you know, it just didn't work out that well. Even though it's not a bad story, it's the way they played it.
Right. You can have controversial stories. It's just you have to inform the public of what's going on better than what they've done so far, I guess is what we're saying. Enough politics. We'll get into, I guess, our thoughts on Secret Empire sans politics here. Just a buy, a borrow, or a forget it altogether opinion. And just to wrap up, final thoughts on Spider-Man Deadpool here. What do you say? Basically, Carl had it between a borrow and a forget it altogether, because, you know, jumping in at 17 is a fucking daunting task, obviously, but the art is something that, you know, with the action and everything going on is enthralling. Obviously, there were a ton of splash pages and things to take in here.
The art is well worth the price of the book.
Yeah. And then that's why I still have it as a borrow, and I can't forget it, you know, because the art is still gorgeous. It's still part of the long running story that I'm collecting in some form. and I don't want to stop just yet. I'm still buying it, so it's got to at least be a borrow for me if I'm still paying money for it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Anyway, we're gonna get to Secret Empire, which everybody in the world is well informed about. If you've been reading, any comic book website, we won't name here, but web writer of Nick Spencer, artist of Steve McNiven, Jay Liston, and Matt Wilson. Just coming off the cuff here, I've read half of the Captain America arc leading up to this, so I have enough of a background, I guess, to make a semi-educated call on it. It's currently still in borrow territory for me. Just basically, for lack of clarification concerning a time jump, just leaving me a little bit confused about how much time has passed and what's occurred and what hasn't, which I'm sure will be cleared up down the road and hopefully increase my score with those issues. Just a few of the events in the story felt like they were happening just because the author told you they were happening instead of showing you throughout the comic book. And some of that stuff would have been more interesting played out on pages than just finding out about it in words. You know what I'm saying? And I would have liked to see some of that happen. So I hope we maybe get some background about that and the issues to come and things like that, because I'd like to find out how Hydra really got total control and really put these heroes down and out for the count. And I'd like to see that on the pages instead of just finding out about it, really.
A lot of that's free comic book day too, right?
Yeah, I just haven't got to that part yet, and I don't really know where it falls, but I guess it falls between 0 and 1. So it's just weird they would have issue 1 come out before this, and then have this come out, and then not really release it digitally yet. So
yeah, that is weird.
Hopefully that fills in some gaps and eases some of my criticism of it. But again, just my final thought on it is it's art that's not super up to McNiven levels of past, performance, I feel like. And I just think this event has a rush to market feel, not story-wise, but artistic-wise, so they can get it out and out of the way and get Legacy started, really. And it doesn't speak to the quality, really, of the writing or the story in any way. It's just they want to be done with this and moving on to the Legacy aspect and
not
get
just
everything
that
right in the ship.
I also
go ahead.
Sorry, I think they want to not happen what happened with Civil War last year. Like, they don't want a supposed 6-month event to carry on for like 10, 11 months. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because then you just everyone loses interest that even had a speck of interest to begin with.
Yeah, it'll ruin the story, and then you'll have what happened with Civil War. I mean, 3 months. We were reading 3 months of comics that have consequences at the end of the story before the story even ended.
I know,
which was sad.
Yeah, and it makes you not want to buy. If you're somebody that's a stubborn asshole like me, a little bit, like I'm not buying some of those books solely for the reason because I don't want to find out what's ruined in a book that I'm currently buying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a stickler for things like that. And then if I hear the book's good, I'll go back and pick it up. But I wanna read my story kind of in order,
right? I mean, or else what's the point?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to have gaps filled in after things have happened. I just like reading things in order, old school. Unless it really adds to the story, and that's not a way it adds to the story. That's an accidental. That's a fucking mistake, basically. Don't pawn your mistakes off on the reader.
And the McNiven art is like very like I'm comparing right now, like looking at like New Avengers stuff versus this, and like it's just not up to snuff. It really is not. Like, especially when you see those Captain Marvel scenes when she's out in space. And the colors are all washed.
I just wonder. I know like Leanston and Wilson have done other books I've probably loved them on. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if like McNiven got a different color, or if thoughts would be different on the art, like just darker, more. It's like just a weird choice of coloring, I guess, for what's going down.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Matthew, what was your final? Like, would you buy it, borrow it?
I buy it because I've been following Cap this whole entire time, and I'm still watching the story unfold. So like it's still a part of the Captain America story, and it's just I'm interested in that. Although, God, I mean, when you look at the art, it's every time I look at it, I feel worse and worse about it. Because like I look at Totally Awesome Hulk's face, I look at when he's Amadeus Show, and he doesn't even really look like Amadeus Show.
I thought the kid running away. Sorry, we're not letting Carl give his opinion here yet. He's going to tell you what he thinks in a second. But I felt like the kid running in the beginning, I forget what his name is, was Miles Morales until Miles showed up. I totally thought it was Miles.
I thought that too.
Okay, good. I didn't want to be like, oh, all black kids look the same. That's not what I thought at all. It just looked like fucking Miles. That's all.
He's got the slit in the hair. Like, he looks exactly like him.
I know.
And then you see Miles pop down, and you're like, oh, okay, so, okay.
Red hoodie signifying Spider-Man character,
I'm pretty sure he's worn that outfit.
Yeah, I feel like he has. Probably in a book I just read, too. All right, Carl, we're done ranting about it. What do you think? Buy, borrow, or forget it? So I'm a borrow. Trevitt's a buy. Where are you at?
First thing, for me personally, it's a buy. Now, I'd rate it as a borrow for everybody else because I've been like Trevitt all over this Captain America series from issue 1 all the way through. The only thing that it makes me upset is this whole time jump. Makes you feel like you missed something. Like, you go a year in the future and you have this guy throwing up the Captain America lunchbox, which he's an Inhuman, which they say that, but when do they go into that they're in a registration act again? And if you're not a registered Inhuman, you're being hunted down. Is that
an Inhuman they've ever shown before?
I've never seen him.
No, guy was puking up the lunchbox.
Yeah.
What a weird power! Like you see it.
It's the worst power ever.
And if it leaves you having to assume what his power set is, like they say that he looked at the picture in the car, he shouldn't have looked at the picture in the car. Then he throws up the lunchbox. Like, is that what his power is? If he looks at a picture, he throws it up. So if he looks at a picture of like a $1,000 bill, he's gonna throw up $1,000 bills. He's gonna be a billionaire.
I would be looking at a picture of a car. Like,
I know. Yeah, a car. Could you imagine his jaw? He'd be like a giant snake throwing up one of those moose it's trying to eat or something.
And you can see his jaw grows to the size of the box so he can puke it out. That's just.
I mean, it's a borrow for everybody else because if you don't know what's going on, it's like frustrating. Even for the people who have followed the storyline, it's been a frustrating issue to me.
I kind of get this, like the beginning part, what they're trying, like they're just trying to like really show you like what everything's like in the world now that Hydra's over, which it's like insanity. It's like the McCarthy days where like people were communists. Like, if you see something, report something, and your whole entire life gets destroyed because
people are just reporting. Well, at that time, people were Nazis for basically, I don't know, picking their nose, thought they were doing the salute or something.
or like communists, like people, back in the day in Hollywood, like people thought you had any kind of affiliation with a communist, your career was ruined, you're just blackballed from everything. And that's kind of what this is like here. Like, report your neighbors, spy on them. Like, if you see suspicious activity, let us know. And like people get their lives ruined for puking up a lunchbox. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
like he's hurting anybody.
Right. All right. Well, yeah. So buy for Carl, but borrow if you weren't somebody basically following the story is the gist. I'm not really following the story issue by issue. I'm on for the event and the main event issues only. I'm not jumping around all these tie-ins except for the ones that you guys make me read pretty much. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm on board. I want to see the story through all the way. It's an idea I want to read about. Whether I like to also read about all the people getting their panties in a bunch on the internet and find it fun. So
we'll be talking about it next week with Secret Warriors. Secret Warriors is tying into the Secret Empire.
Do you guys know how long the Free Comic Book Day issue is? Like what the page count is?
It's probably like 10 pages.
I have it in my spare room.
Because that would suck if it was 10 pages, though, right?
I think it is because it's like 21 page issue, and they do the Scarlet or the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
That's what most Free Comic Book Day issues are. They're pretty much 10-page teases, for what's coming up.
Except
they
for
usually
DC,
do
they
drop
just
like
do the
one
same
big
shit over
bomb
and over.
on you. That's the good thing about them is they'll get a hook in there to get you into the next issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Unless you're DC, and then you just throw out the same old shit that
I
you've
know.
already
I
given
don't
out.
know why they keep doing that. That's bullshit. The last time
It's
the
stupid.
Divergence issue, the one where they revealed like Superman and Batman had died and lost their powers, was pretty cool a couple years ago, and that was the last Free Comic Book Day I went to. Because I've been getting them from DCBS since then, and they just come in my order at the end of the month, so I just waited out.
I was looking for. I thought I.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week, guys. If you are looking to reach us, we're all on Twitter. You can find us there if you like us. I'm at Beamer3660. Trevitt, where can they find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Afronaddict.
And Carl, how about you?
You can find me at Carl Hamlin. And you can find Marvel Madness at Madness Marvel 1.
And then we're also, taking emails. You guys got any suggestions or anything along those lines? If you want to make us a theme song, something like that, that can be gone and sent to marvelmadnesspod@gmail.com. So that's open for business as well.
We are now on iTunes, so please rate and review us if you're listening to this. Tell us what you think.
Yep. Get the word out there, guys. So next week's books. This is what preview of what we'll be doing. Tentative changes are possible. So if you're looking to maybe grab these books and follow along with us, they will be Trevitt's choice of Secret Warriors 1, as far as Inhumans, X-Men related things go. We got Carl's choice of either Rocket Raccoon #1 or Zombies. What is it? Assemble #1?
Zombies Assemble #1.
Yeah, you're tossing around those two. And I'm going to end up doing Renew Your Vows #7. That's part 2 of Spider-Man meets the X-Men in this new Renew Your Vows universe, which has been a pretty cool story so far. So if that's something you're interested in, that's what we'll be covering. But that's it for us this weekend, guys. We're done being Marvel. We're done being mad about Marvel for the week. So that's it. We're signing out. We'll talk to you next week. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Peace.